Well, the magical 2023-2024 Washington Huskies season comes to an end in Houston as they play their least efficient game of the year and aren't able to get anything done on offense. Um, in a very puzzling game here. Um, the Huskies, the final score was 34 to 13, but really this was a 20 to 13 game for a long time, a long time. Um, Allowed a couple touchdowns early to Donovan Edwards on Michigan, um, and then the defense was extremely stout. Um, but the offense just uncharacteristically inefficient, and that includes Michael Penix, and that might be the number one culprit in this game. Unfortunately, he's usually able to get away with some of the overthrows, which he does. He overthrows his receivers almost on a consistent basis, at least a few times a game. Not one, not two, usually a few times a game. But he's usually able to get away with it because the rest of his throws are usually really good, if not perfect. And in this instance, you had drops from Will Nixon. You had a failure to catch the ball that was on target, I think, by Polk. Um, and you had, when Washington was attempting to come back, when it was 13-20, you had a phantom hold call. And not only that, but listen, I was looking out for both sides of this while I was watching the broadcast. They were showing Michigan, the Michigan box, the Jordan box with Michael Jordan and Derek Jeter and Stephen A. Smith. They showed that in support of Michigan. They kept showing John Harbaugh and Jim Harbaugh's parents multiple times. And then they also had a little piece on JJ McCarthy, I think twice. The thing that he does, he takes off his shoes, grounds himself, does meditation at the end zone. And then again when he was talking to his coach. So over and over and over, I saw these pieces that the broadcast was doing about Michigan, and I didn't see anything about Penix. I didn't see anything about Kalen DeBoer. I didn't see anything about Washington, which was puzzling to me. I mean, listen, of course, your team doesn't win, you're going to say it's crafted to be the other way. But when there are all these stories and there's all this focus on Michigan, um, it seems like college football got what it wanted in this one. And listen, of course, I'm not going to say that that was the sole reason that we lost. No, I mean, there was huge inefficiency, and then of course you give up those two big rushing touchdowns in the beginning of the game. That's what's going to happen. And you know, talking to another fellow alumni, he said what I was thinking as well, which is, this Huskies team won 21 straight games. They won 21 straight games. And it wasn't until this last one where they beat Texas that anyone even knew about Penix. That was like not like all the casuals or even some of the people that are into college football but just don't watch the West Coast. Finally, the network started talking about Penix just this last game in anticipation of this national championship. And then this is what everyone sees, of course. So the legacy of this team, even though they won 21 straight games, I mean, it's kind of like that Warriors team that had the best record in NBA history, but blew that 3-1 lead and wasn't able to win a title. Their legacy is not cemented. It's just not. You can't really speak proudly about them. Same thing for that Mariners team that set the record for in the MLB for the most wins. When you don't finish it, really the buildup, um, it's I mean it means something, but it's just it doesn't mean nearly as much. I mean the endings account for a huge chunk of your legacy and of your story in anything. I mean, in sports, but also in movies and books, whatever. If you have a bad ending, it just sours the whole experience, the whole legacy, how you remember it. So of course, the fact that um, not only does this end in a loss, but also the way that you lose, not losing with giving them your best shot, essentially, and that's what this team has been doing all year. They did it twice against Oregon. Oregon has shown that they are a top five, top three team in the country, and they beat them twice, and they put their best foot forward twice. Same thing against Texas. Texas, a team that beat Alabama, a team that crushed Oklahoma, a team that um, it was a great team, had the two best defensive linemen. At the very least, you give them your best shot. And for Washington, we give people our best shot, it's enough to win. But they didn't give them their best shot today for whatever reason. I mean, strategy wise, I said it throughout the game. Giving the ball to Dillon Johnson as much as they did and running the ball in the beginning of the game as much as they did, that's not their game. And I couldn't understand why they kept doing that. I really, really couldn't. Listen, I know Will Nixon and Tybo Rogers are not great. Tybo had a good run early. Nixon, of course, he dropped that pass, which is unforgivable, really. But if you're using him as a running back, at least he's a guy that has two legs. Dillon was running on one leg, and you're running into the teeth of, by all means, by all standards, the best defense in the country. This is a team that I saw consistently at the beginning of the season just hold teams to 6, 7 points, Big Ten teams, and you just kept going to that over and over and over. And I think that there was a flawed plan to try to establish the run early so that you could set up the pass, and that just didn't come to pass. And Ryan Grubb, I think if Penix connects on some of these balls to Rome, and he finds Devin Culp on as he's wide open streaming down, and there's another one to Rome Odunze. He didn't see him. There was pressure. There was pretty consistent pressure. The offensive line was pretty much beat for most of the game, but there were throws, and there were times where Penix had enough time to make those throws, and he just didn't. And then the blocking as well, from the tight ends and the running backs. I think there should have been more of that. Should have been more of that. So Ryan Grubb's legacy does take a hit, even though up until now he had seemed to be the best offensive coordinator I had ever seen, regardless of the NFL or college. The way he was getting people open was something I've never seen before. So that takes a hit. Of course, the statistics bear out that the Huskies weren't able to run the ball. Dillon Johnson ended up with 33 yards on 11 carries. Will Nixon, 2 carries, 7 yards. Tybo Rogers, 1 carry, 2 yards. Unsurprising. Unsurprising. Meanwhile, on the other team, Corum and Edwards both went over 100 and both had 2 touchdowns. That was the game. JJ McCarthy didn't do much. He scrambled. He had a big scramble on a third and long when they were in, basically territory where UW could have gotten a safety if they sacked him, and that was a backbreaker for the chances of Washington coming back. So the season ends for Husky fans in a unsatisfying way that. You don't really know where you go from here because in the NFL at least you have some clarity about when the Seahawks lost to the Falcons in 2012 in the playoffs, you knew everyone was coming back. You knew everyone was coming back. They were going to go for it, and you were positive that next year was going to be special, and it was. They won the Super Bowl, and you can't say that about this team because really you don't know who's going to stay now. Penix is done. Odunze is done. Some of your best players, 2 of your best players. And who knows, Kalen DeBoer, Ryan Grubb, these guys might take other jobs. So that's the thing about college football. That's why it was more important for a college football team to finish it off as opposed to an NFL team. Seahawks, by the way, won their last game, but Bears couldn't quite finish off the Packers, so their season is done. So Seahawks and Husky seasons are ended a day apart, and there is no football for either of those teams until September for another 9 months. So Huskies now, they have a name. They have a bigger name than they used to. They're moving to the Big Ten. The Pac-12 is dead. And they're going to be really tested now. And I think it's going to be for the better. I think now that you have the exposure of playing with teams consistently like Michigan, Ohio State, Wisconsin, all the Big Ten teams, your time slots are going to be a little bit sooner so people can see you more often. So I think this helped with recruiting as well. I think people are going to be more proud and more prone to play at Washington now, which is a positive development as well. But yeah, of course, you're a Huskies fan. You wish they not only got it done, but played their game, and they didn't. They weren't efficient. They made mistakes, and at the end of the day, when you play like that, you don't deserve to win. Um, you you put it into the hands of other people making these small decisions, such as that phantom hold call, which was pretty devastating, and also feeding into the narrative that a lot of people wanted, um, including probably the network and much of the country. So that's how it goes. Huskies end the season 14-1, tremendous. They went on a 21 game winning streak, as I said, ends tonight. But a lot to be proud of. Legacy does take a hit, but hopefully the standard of Washington Huskies football has been raised, and hopefully it'll stay that way. That'll do it for recaps of the Seahawks and the Huskies for a while. Maybe if there's news during the offseason, we'll get back on here and cover some of those, the draft, recruiting, things like that. But I want to thank everybody that tuned in. I know there have been some missed recaps. Had some issues with recording for a while, but want to thank everyone that tuned in and commented and takes time out to watch or to listen to some of these. If you're a Husky fan, keep your head up. It was a great season. If you're a Michigan fan, congratulations. You deserve it. Great game. If you're a Seahawk fan, watching in on this, because I do those recaps as well, we'll see what happens this offseason. I don't know if Pete Carroll is going to stick around. There's a lot of talk about that. My inclination is to say he probably will, but there needs to be changes there. I think at offensive coordinator, and they need to draft a linebacker badly. Badly, badly, badly. All right, that'll do it. Have a fantastic day, football fans.